Welcome to the show. Hi, I'm Randy Jeffers, and we are live from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, we are in for a treat today. We have with us the hip-hop legend himself, Kurtis Blow, and rapper Kurtis Blow Jr. So welcome, guys.
All right, thank you.
My goodness, it's not every day you get to talk to a legend and a legend to be, so welcome. It's just what an honor it is just to have you guys here.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I think probably everybody knows who you are, and you were the very first hip-hop artist to have a major recording contract, right?
Correct, yes. Back in 1979.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I was blessed and fortunate to be the first rapper signed to a major label, and that was Polygram Mercury Records. And as I look back to those days, you know, that was something that was really, really special because, you know, to be signed to a major label means you get major press.
Yeah.
You know, we had a major office in every major city in the world. So as a young college student, I worked the system. And the first thing I did was I went to the publicity and promotions department and said, look, I need to visit all of these offices. And I did the promo tours, and they flew me all around the world to all of these offices. And I went to places like, you know, Paris, France, and Tokyo, Japan, and, you know, London, England. And when I got there, it was like they had it set up at every office. I get there about 12 o'clock, so from 12 to 5 they had set up major press, you know, so from print media, newspapers, and radio and television, and all these interviews back to back to back throughout the day. And
Wow.
it was recorded and documented, you know, as I would get in and travel into these different countries. And it was just an exciting, dream-like world, you know, just doing press, the whole gamut of press, going all around the world, traveling with Polygram Records. And a big shout out to Beverly Page, who actually set it up. She was the girl who actually set up all the interviews and all the travel and everything. And she actually got me that first national commercial for hip hop. It was a Sprite
Really?
commercial. Yeah, she hooked that up for us. So
Now, was that in the late 70s?
that was 1984, actually.
Oh, 84, okay.
Yeah. And I remember that commercial. It was so cool, you know, just seeing yourself, a young guy, I mean, his Rambo on TV, the movie of the week.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
The first commercial out of Rambo is my Sprite commercial.
Oh, my
and I'm
goodness.
like, oh my gosh, this is big time.
So you were living large, huh?
Yeah, man, a good feeling, a blessing, total blessing.
I'll bet, yeah. Well, I can't wait to get into this and hear more stories. But Kurtis Jr., I want to just ask you, you kind of grew up in this world, right?
Yep,
From the time you were born, I guess your dad was famous, and
it's pretty regular to me.
yeah. Now you're a rapper now, and
Yeah.
have a record out, a couple
Yeah.
records out.
I'm working on my third project right now, titled Cloud9. Yeah, man, just working, you know, every day.
So what's the difference between a rapper and a hip hop artist? Or are they the same? Or is there a difference?
I would say they're the same.
Yeah.
I would say they're the same.
Definitely a rapper is a hip hop artist, but there are more hip hop artists than rappers because hip hop is the basic culture, a way of life for people who love and cherish the elements of the culture. Rap is one of the elements.
Really?
So,
Okay.
you know, you can be a DJ, which is one of the elements, and you're a hip hop
You're a
artist.
hip-hop artist.
I see.
dancing.
Okay, that makes sense.
And along with b-boys or break dancers, those are hip hop artists, and of course our graph artists are artists for sure. So you know, you can be a part of each element and still be a hip hop artist.
Yeah. Wow.
So
That's
him as an MC,
I'm a hip hop artist.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's right. Very cool. So, in the 1979 era, there was that just started it all, right? That's
Mhm.
when now everybody's that's famous in music. I think is in hip hop some way or another, right? But that had to be really. You were kind of lonely probably at that time, huh?
Well, again, that whole time right there seems like a whole big dream. It doesn't seem real. It's really like, it's hard to explain the spirit and the energy that was going around during that time, but I think we all, that small group of people, were fortunate and blessed to actually really experience what was going on in the South Bronx and Harlem and in the world of hip hop, those 5 boroughs of New York, where we all think about the Big Bang Theory and then explosion in 1979 with the emergence of the rap record and the Sugar Hill Gang and Rapper's Delight. That record right there started it off. Every car, every bus, every train, every cab, every boombox, every radio station was playing this song 24/7. We still don't know how many records it sold. Some say 17, 18 million. But it gave me the opportunity as an MC who had been doing it for 7, 8 years now, in streets of New York, around the 5 boroughs of New York, as a local artist, like local bands, and then here comes this opportunity to make a record with the Sugar Hill Gang opening the door with that big record. And so that was what we call like the Big Bang Theory or the explosion of hip hop that really started it off and gave us all an opportunity to make records and follow suit. And our hat goes off to the Sugar Hill Gang. We owe them so much.
Absolutely. Now, hip hop is pretty much strictly American, right? It didn't have the British invasion like when the Beatles came, and it all started here, right?
Yes, it is bona fide American culture, incredible, miracle, mystical, magical situation that happened on the streets of New York City, South Bronx, Harlem, places in Brooklyn and Queens. Every borough can attest to contributions in the genesis of hip hop. But we all like to say, the birthplace is the Bronx. Is that the Bronx?
It's definitely gone worldwide now, though.
It's
yes,
everywhere, right? It's all over the world, right?
It's a global situation. So wow, this thing just. We look at hip hop. We live in a hip hop generation. This is the #1 music in the whole entire world.
Yeah.
And just surpassing country and western this year. And 25% of all music streamed is hip hop.
It's phenomenal to think about.
Phenomenal.
That. You know, the other thing that's phenomenal is to think that you started out in 1979. That's 40 years ago. It's just
wow.
It doesn't seem like it's been around that long, but I guess it has, huh? 40 years, my goodness.
Yeah, who would ever think? And the fact, even that, being around in hip hop 7, 8 years before the first record came out, a lot of cats are now claiming, I think it's 45 years. The start of hip hop was 1973, that historical party up at 1520 Cedric and Cedar, over there in the Bronx with
Kool Herc.
DJ Kool Herc giving this monumental party, back to school party with his sister Cindy. And so that party was the actual start, our start, August 11th, 1973.
My goodness.
So we're claiming 45 years now.
Wow, that is phenomenal.
45 years.
Let's talk a little bit about your roots, and let's trace it back. You grew up where?
I grew up in Harlem, born and raised in Harlem. Actually, by way of Queens, I actually lived in Queens, New York for 2 years. And when I turned 2, my mom actually, I was living with my aunt out in Queens, and then to move to Harlem when she got better situated. And so I grew up, born and raised in Harlem, moved to the Bronx when I was 17, and got my own apartment, and lived there for about 12 years or so, and then moved out to California to raise a family and get married and slow down and have kids and become normal.
So you got it was early '80s, I guess, when you got really famous, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
My first record came out in 1979. Signed Christmas Rap. Oh, shout out to all the radio around the country. Thank you for making that song a classic. They play it every year, like Nat King Cole and Run DMC's Christmas in Hollis. You know, mine was first. But I thank you guys because you made it a classic. And so since then, 1980, and we released The Breaks, which was the first certified gold rap song for the history of hip hop. And from there, man, it was just, record after record, just having a career, release 14 albums. Have over
14 albums.
I have over 200 rap songs without profanity. That's my claim to fame. I'm the happy rapper, and I just thank God and all of the people out there. I don't have fans anymore. We've come of age, so now I have friends, a lot of friends.
And they all feel like they know you and you grew up with you, right?
They have supported me, yes. All these years, I thank you. Without people like you, there could never be brothers like me. That's my motto.
Now, you mentioned no profanity, and you take pride in that. Now, tell us a little bit. I know you're a minister. You have a church,
yes.
right? A hip hop church.
Yes,
tell us about that.
Amen. Yes, the hip hop church was an experiment we tried after I became a born again Christian in 1994 with Pastor Jack Hayford out in Church on the Way. You've seen him on the Trinity Network many a times. He's a very, very famous minister and my mentor. I came of age. It all started like a transitional period, a period like, how most people say they were hit by the Holy Ghost and knocked them on their feet and they start shaking and and God came into their life. But it was a gradual thing for me because, well, first and foremost, I consider myself a practical, logical man, and big on science, technology, and so it took me a little time to buy into this whole spiritual element and religious way of life. So I started out reading the Bible, and once I got to the Bible, I was hooked. I started going to church more, and then the Bible studies at my house, and eventually I started a ministry going back to New York and ran into a pastor who gave an event where he wanted to honor all the pioneers of hip hop. So I got my buddies together and we went up to this church and they were rapping and gospel rap, and they all gave us Bibles and plaques and stuff. And it was a great event. So I said, wow, man, this was such a great time that we all had. It was amazing. And we should do this again. We should do this every week, by the way. And he was like, oh, wow, that's a great idea. I was like, let's start it. Let's start a hip-hop church. And that's how it became about. And that was one of the things that we do at the ministry. We honor the people in the community. We honor our pioneers in hip-hop, someone who has done something that's really community-based or uplifting or inspirational or inspiring.
Helping the kids.
Community ministry. Real ministry is about helping the community that's around that church.
Sure.
So we get out into the community and support our people out there who have problems, who need spiritual guidance, who need prayer, who need just inspiration, and let them know that God is real and God is awesome, and it's a powerful thing that you can fall back on. All you have to do is just Romans 10:9, just confess that Jesus is your Savior. You want him into your life, and once that happens, then you can see miracles happen, changes, and that's what the hip hop church is all about. So we've done that for 10 years. Started in 2004, around that time, and it's coming back. So the hip hop church is coming back because I moved out to California, and then the church in New York, what's going on with the AME Zions is that they change pastors every couple of years. It's like their policy and their rules that govern the church of the AME Zions, that the state bishop, they have a conference and they analyze with the work that the pastor is doing, and they may give him another church and send him here or there. So we have a new pastor that's at the AME Zion Church, the OG church, and they want to bring back the hip hop church. So coming in May is going to open back up the hip hop church. And we are very, very excited about that. And that's going to be on 146th Street and Lenox Avenue, right straight in smack dab in the middle of Harlem. So you'll hear about that. The ministry is coming back. Praise God.
Now, you do know how unusual this is for the father of hip-hop to be talking about the subject that you just got through talking about. That's because the whole rap movement has come a long ways from when it started.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit different now, right? What are your thoughts about where it's at now?
Well, that's the whole thing about God is amazing.
Yeah.
And my personal testimony is it took some amazing grace to save a wretch like me, because I was a general in Satan's army. All right? And believe me, I can talk about sin till the cows come home, about the things that I've done and witnessed and seen in this world. But, you know, the awesome grace of God, I mean, God slow walked me. And that grace, we're talking about that grace. He knew the plan that he had for my life way before I was born. And he's just like, okay, you know, I'm patient during this time with Kurtis.
Mm-hmm.
Kurtis is going to see this light. I know. And I didn't know it at all, but God knew. And that's why he was patient with me, saying, okay, he's going to have a testimony. He knew before I knew. Amazing grace to save me. He's awesome, because I was out there.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, what a story. Well, Kurtis Jr., tell me what's your favorite story about your dad?
Favorite story. The Bob Marley story.
Bob, I knew he was going to say it. I knew it.
Now there's a legend right there.
Yeah. I like the Bob Marley story. You should tell it.
Well, Bob Marley, my hero. So on the Commodores, right? Mm-hmm. The Commodores tour, Lionel Richie comes to get the young rapper, and
so this was your first experience on the road.
First experience on a major tour. We talking about all platinum tour, right?
Yeah.
We doing 100 shows around the country. So we're touring. I'm meeting everybody. Cameo. I'm meeting Stephanie Mills. Diana Ross came out. So we are getting close to the New York show, right? And so the promoter comes to me and tells me, look, we're not doing that good with the ticket sales, so we're thinking about adding this other new act on the show to sell out, and we're thinking about adding this guy, Bob Marley. And I said, who? Bob Marley. He's a reggae artist. He's incredible, a legend. I said, okay, no problem, you know. So they added him to one show. Sold out in 15 minutes.
Wow.
They had to add a second show. Second show sold out in 24 hours. Boom. They had a third show. It sold out. We have 3 shows, sold out shows with Bob Marley on the bill. And so I'm opening up the show. I'm 19 years old. First time Madison Square Garden, right? It's 1981. I'm just like, wow, this is it. Sold out. I'm in Madison Square Garden backstage, right? In the corridors. Standing there with 2 beautiful ladies. One was Bernadette Standis, I think her name is, and she was Thelma on Good Times. And everybody loved Thelma, right? Young hottie. And then there was Sarah Dash, was one of the singers for LaBelle, Patti LaBelle's group. So I'm standing there with these 2 ladies, and we're just chatting, talking, and here comes a crowd of people way down the corridor to my left, and they're moving slowly, getting to us, coming towards us, and they get right in front of us, and the crowd starts opening up, and see this figure come out, coming towards me, and it's Bob Marley, right? So I'm standing there. He comes up to me. He puts his hands out, shakes my hand. He says, "Kurtis, I like your stuff." And goes back in the crowd. The crowd closes up, and they keep walking by. And I'm like, "Oh my God, did you hear what Bob Marley said?" I was like, "Oh my God," elbowing the girls and stuff. It was like, wow. 20 years old, not 19, 20 years old. And so that was actually his last show. He died about a month later.
Wow, my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So what year was this?
That was 1981.
Wow.
Yeah. Bob Marley.
Man, what a story.
And I'm his biggest fan. I have all of his songs, all of his music, his greatest hits. I play them all. I could sing some Bob Marley stuff, playing them at 4 o'clock in the morning before the club closes. You know, everything's gonna be all right. You know, what a guy, what a talent.
So you worked with obviously a lot of famous people in music. Give us some of the names of the people
Yeah,
you worked with.
and you see, Randy, that was my thing as a college student. You know, I wanted to work the system. So
Yeah.
my number one thing was getting with the publicity and promotions department, and I'm begging them, get me to my heroes. I want to meet my heroes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let's set up all these little promotions where we can all, you know. So I met Aretha Franklin. We did a thing. They set it up for me to go to Hitsville. And I met Aretha Franklin. We sat there and had lunch together. That was huge. Took pictures of everything. She's married. She's married to that actor, the guy who played in Cooley High. What's his name? She married the lead actor in Cooley High. He was there with her too. He's a very famous actor too. But rest in peace, Miss Aretha Franklin.
Last week. Yeah.
I met Michael Jackson. It was my thing to meet Michael. Michael actually invited me out to a party he had in the Museum of Natural History, and I took my girlfriend and married this girl. That was one of my things to impress the school teacher with a master's degree, and she married me about 2 years later. Amen.
My mom.
Amen. We've been married for 35 years, but I met
You're beautiful,
Michael
Mom, you might say, yeah.
And
Yes.
Prince was a very, very, very special person to me. He actually, my biggest production was a song I produced called King Holiday for Martin Luther King, and we did like a We Are the World like song, and Whitney Houston, Stephanie Mills, and Menudo, and Kool and the Gang, J.C. Taylor, Tina Marie, New Edition, Bobby Brown, all these cats. Everybody's on the song. That wasn't in the We Are the World song. And so that whole song, Prince actually paid for the video when we shot the video.
Really?
At the Martin Luther King Foundation down in Atlanta. Prince paid $100,000 for this video out of his own pocket, and so we set up a thing with Prince, and so I wanted to thank him. So my record company set up a thing where we did this photo shoot together at a club somewhere in Atlanta, and so we were gonna take pictures with all the fans. And I'm sitting there with Prince, hanging out with Prince at this club, and Prince got to take all the pictures. Everybody wanted to take a picture with Prince. I took maybe about 3 or 4 photos, and he took 500 pictures. That's wow. Prince. What a super duper star. I remember hanging out with him in One in a Million. What's that guy from Sly and the Family Stone? Larry. Well, him and Prince were very close, and we went out to a concert together. We was hanging out. Prince was a really special guy, really cool cat, really good guy.
Well, what memories you have?
I went, hung out with James Brown.
Yeah.
It was my hero, Jimmy Castor, from Jimmy Castor and the Jimmy Castor Bunch. He was like my hero. I went to the High School of Music and Arts because he did. He lived actually in Harlem, grew up a mile north. I grew up in 465 West 140th Street, and Frankie Lyman and Jimmy Castor grew up in 465 West 160th Street. So
Wow.
I did the research and followed Jimmy Castor. He was my buddy. I met him, went to his show in Harlem, and called Cool Herc. I said, Herc, Jimmy Castor's at this place such and such. And Herc came down and we met Jimmy Castor together and explained to him how important he was and how inspirational he was to hip hop. And this was my thing I wanted to do to those special people like James Brown and Jimmy Castor. And there are a few, like the Isley Brothers had a couple of songs that were big in breakdancing and our B-boys, and how he really actually inspired hip-hop in the creation. And he never knew this. His song Just Begun is one of the anthems for breakdancing. I'm talking about Jimmy Castor. So I explained to him this whole story. He never knew, and I became friends of the family after that, and he would come out to my show, and his son, Jimmy Castor Jr., is my good buddy. I can call him right now and get him on the phone. He's great. He's a great editor and filmmaker as well, Jimmy Castor Jr., who just did a documentary on his dad. That's a very, very special documentary.
Wow.
But people like that, you know. And rest in peace, Jimmy Castor. He died about 3 years ago. And big shout out to Jimmy Castor Jr. and the family, Castor family, the Castor Bunch.
The Castor Bunch. Now you wrote a number of your songs. Did you write all? You probably didn't write all of them, but you wrote a number of them, right?
No, over 200 songs, but I'd say I definitely more than half, about 120.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What's that like? What's that process like to?
But
how does the song start?
It can start many ways. Songwriting is sort of like spiritual, mystical, magical. So sometimes God gives you this creative spirit and you'll just write a song, take you an hour. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes you'll have the track in front of you in the studio and you'll write your lyrics, or you have it at home. It'll take you 2-3 hours to write your lyrics. Listening to the music will inspire you. Or you'll start from scratch. Oh, son, he's a great writer right now. This guy writes.
I work a little bit.
You tell me. You write more than I do.
It's pretty much different ways. The way I like to write, I hum to the beat a little bit and kind of get like a flow.
So you write the music
pattern.
first?
I hum the melody, and then after come in and put words to that melody.
Wow.
So, but the first melody I do, pretty much I stick with that, and then fit in words. You know what I mean? Build a song after that.
But you see what he's saying? He's saying the flow. Sometimes he'll write the flow. I hum the flow, which is the rhythm patterns of the rap.
Mm-hmm.
See, when we rap, it's a rhythmic thing. So we call that, in poetry, it's called the meter. You know,
Right.
so you count the meter and figure out scientifically with the number of bars and 4 beats in a bar, and then 16 bars you have a verse, right? So, but within that 16 bars, the meter, the rhythmic patterns of the words, he writes first. The flow is important in hip hop and rap.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in regular songwriting, it's not that important. When you're singing, yeah, your rhythm is important, and sometimes, you know, with this new trap sound, you see the R&B artists are singing the rhythmic patterns of the trap rap.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Yeah.
So it all plays a part, an important part. You know, you have your flow, your rhythm. Sometimes you'll start with your flow and your rhythm. Sometimes you'll start with a concept and then go from there and give a flow and a rhythm to the concept of the lyrics. Sometimes you'll have your track first and the music will inspire you. So there are many different ways that you can write.
Something could happen, just something in the studio could happen, and that could spark the idea to make a song.
Right. You might see something on the news and boom,
Gives you that
3
idea.
verses.
What's your favorite song that you've written?
Oh, the first one.
Yeah.
The very first one, My Baby. That's the first one that started it off, and it's about Christmas. I'm the Christmas rapper. Bottom line, Christmas is the birth of Christ. I'm a minister now. God ushered in a plan. Who would ever think I'd be making a song about Christmas and then have a career? I never knew. When I was 19, when I went to the studio, I wrote it going downtown on a train. Man, my God. So that's where everything started, was from that first song. And thank God. Thank y'all. Thank God.
Now, do you write songs about your family, about people you love and care about? Have you done some of that?
Yes, I've written all kinds of songs, all kinds of subjects. You know, it was my thing in college, and this was something I figured out, a practical study in taking the culture into the classroom, and the classroom into the culture, and coming up with this philosophy and putting rap into boxes. Like, I'm a communications major, so speech broadcasting and speech rap is like speech, right? That's the analogy. We're orators, we're public speakers, we are rappers, we deal with the oratory, and then when you deal with the oratory and communication, the number one thing in communications is how we communicate and speak. And so you have this art of rhetoric. In the art of rhetoric, how do you persuade people to agree with your contention in public speaking? You have many speeches. You have a demonstrative speech, which is one that talks about different subjects and gives out information, like basketball or Christmas. You have your political speeches. I've done many of those, and put these speeches into boxes and call them raps and make rap songs out of these different categories. So you have your inspirational speeches at pep rallies and things like that. Go team. That's like to inspire people to party raps. You know, let's have a good time. You know,
sure.
Throw your hands in the air. Here's one for you. An extemporaneous speech is one that's not written. It's off the cuff, as we say in public speaking, and that's just like
A
freestyle rap off the top of the dome as I roam right here on this microphone, spitting this stuff right to you. Kurtis blow, it's the boogaloo flu. So
You've said that a time or two before.
Yeah. No, these are categories. These are boxes that I came up with, analogies that I came up with, the actual, philosophy or the theory, rap theory that I came up with the different subjects, and it became the basis of my first 5 albums. So I pull out of that. I was the first to do the first country and western rap. Also fusing with different forms of music was big
Bob Dylan song
idea. Just fusing with rock. I was the first to do rock and roll rap before Run DMC. I was the first to do, like I said, country and western, man, big time. I love this song called Way Out West. Google that song, Way Out West. You'll hear me do a country and western rap talking about Ganymede and how he didn't want to dance, but he ran into Kurtis Blow, and it became like they had to take him out in an ambulance. Okay, that's Ganymede. Tell us stories and stuff like that. Big on that. So that became the basis of, and that's my claim to fame. Putting hip hop and coming up with the rap theory and using college and the education to actually bring the theory and come up with a philosophy, come up with a science, to come up with, the actual practical study and bringing the culture into the classroom, and the classroom into the culture.
Now, I heard you mention a minute or so ago about basketball. You had a famous song about basketball, right?
Yes, and wow, I just want to say a shout out to my wife of 35 years, because actually a female, a woman came up, now my wife came up with the idea of me doing the song Basketball.
Wow.
And I take my hat off to her, because she explained it to me. She came up to me and she said, look, you should basketball is the number one sport right now. It's coming up. I said, no, babe, I think football, but I'm telling you, basketball doesn't have a theme song. Baseball's got a theme song. Take me out to the ball game. She actually sang that song. And she said, you need to do a song about basketball. Well, it is my favorite sport. I love me some Dr. J and Walt Frazier.
Hey, you're telling your age here now, Dr.
Right?
J.
And so I went back to my homeboy, my writers, staff writers, and I went back to the producers, the team. We ought to do this basketball. So, and that's how it came to be, man. It was the most incredible idea by my wife. And yeah, I just thank God for that song because it did a lot for the NBA as well as hip hop, you know, and the fusion between hip hop and sports. Actually, is the rhythm, the same rhythm that we take to rap. That flow that he was talking about is the same rhythm that, you know, athletes use when they're into their sport, whatever sport it is.
If you're not,
if you're not in that zone, that rhythm, then it's a wrap.
So what's the next 5-6 years look like? What do you? If we were 5 years from now looking back, what would have happened?
Say that again.
What's the next 4 or 5 years going to bring for you guys? What do you think?
Oh, the future. Oh, God only knows. I say first and foremost, God willing. But then again, if you look in the Bible, it says, you know, if you are obedient, God will give you the desires of your heart. So, first and foremost, I'm on a mission to live my life like a saint. Amen. Give worship, praise, honor, and glory. First and foremost, you know, my priorities: God first, family, career, legacy, job, friends. But God is first, and that's the most important thing. Sometimes, you know, and my health, of course. I have to think about my brain and my heart. You know, once you get 50 years old, you know, your health should be your top priority. We do a lot of things when we're young, and then we pay for it when we get older. But we need to be more conscious about our health. I'm looking into the fountain of youth now. I've found out about these stem cells that are most incredible. You guys got to do your research about stem cells. It's the future of medicine, and it is the fountain of youth. Hey man, just think about your health. That's my immediate future. I have some great projects. The Universal Hip Hop Museum. I haven't shouted them out.
There we go.
Go to uhhm.org. Find out more about the Universal Hip Hop Museum. It's a project I've been working on for 5 years. It's a brick and mortar location that's gonna be right straight in the Bronx, where the birthplace of hip hop happened, and we're gonna open the doors in 2022. Big shout out to Rocky Buchanan, Ed Young, and Deirdre Tate, and Renee Foster, and Adam Silverstein. All of the 35 people who sacrificing their time, donating, working diligently, trying to bring this to fruition. We open the doors 2022. We start construction next year. 2019 we raised $20 million. Our seed money just last month, so everybody's riding high. Congratulations to you guys. This is the most important, meaningful project that I've been working on since the inception of my career. I think that we all need a place where we can go and learn about the history of hip-hop and support the present as well as the future. So shout out to all the young people, the Generation Hip Hop, who is our organization that's a global outreach for all the global and international hip-hoppers that are around the world. And if you want to learn more, like I said, uhhm.org.
So that's uhhm.org. Okay.
Universal Hip Hop Museum.
Okay.
Big shout out to L&M, our building contractors. They gave us $12 million to start construction.
Wow.
Along with the city gave us $8 million, the city and state of New York. So that was huge. We're on our way, and I just thank God for everybody. All right.
My goodness. You know, I was just thinking while you were talking, my favorite song in whole world is "How Great Thou Art" by Elvis.
Oh,
I love that song, and
isn't that a ballad?
I don't know what it is, but it just moves.
Gospel song, isn't it?
Yeah, "How Great
And
Thou
he
Art."
used to come out
Yeah.
with the candles. That was his skit when he
Elvis?
sing it, and when he sang it live.
Yeah, it is. If you've not heard that song, you've got to Google that and listen to Elvis Presley sing "How Great Thou Art." But have you ever taken a spiritual song or a church song, one that you'd hear in church, and turn it into a rap song?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. I have 5 gospel rap albums. You can look me up, Kurtis Blow and the Trinity. That's my group. Big shout out to all my fellas, the General Lamar and Ty Kim and Ricky V and big shout out to Lecrae, #1 gospel rapper of today. I just had a conversation with him a couple of months ago. He's coming on to the museum to handle our gospel rap division for the museum. But yes, Kurtis Blow and the Trinity. I also did a hip hop ministry album. That's a compilation of all the gospel rappers around the country. And then I have the Hip Hop Church, 2 albums. Another compilation of a lot of gospel rappers. Every city around the country has a gospel rapper. I would say there is. I would like to. Most churches in this country most gospel churches have a gospel rapper that's associated with their church.
Yeah.
And it's grown. We need more outlets, more gospel rap shows, more gospel rap radio shows, But that's a big thing. Getting back to your question, yes, I have. And it is a big thing for my MCs out there. This is what you need to do. Yes, in recording a gospel rap, you can take a secular song and flip it over to God. I got a song, I did that. Here's one Snoop Dogg song with Pharrell. Remember, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know that I love you, girl. I changed it, flipped it. God is so beautiful, and I want you to know that I love you, Lord. So that's one song I did. But getting back to Martin Luther, I wanted to bring that point out. Martin Luther is widely known as the father of the Protestant movement. Protestants, we all as Christians are you have Catholics and you have the Protestant movement. It came with the 99 Thesis and nailing on the...
I've never heard it said. That's very interesting.
Right? But Martin Luther, getting back to Martin Luther, he was a kind of a guy. So he went, and after the 99 Thesis, he went around in Germany. When he was on the run, he went around to all the pubs in Germany and got those songs that they were singing in the pubs. Like, Copenhagen, the Papa songs. And he flipped them over into the gospel hymns. And these hymns are the gospel hymns we sing in church today. It all comes from Martin Luther. I've learned about this in Nyack Gospel College.
Well, we could talk for hours now. We're just about out. We only have a little over a minute left. But Kurtis Jr., I just want to ask you something. What did your dad mean to you?
It's my inspiration, my hero. It means everything, So
What was it like growing up with him?
It was pretty regular as a young kid.
Yeah.
I think you get older and you start to understand, how much your parents play in your life, and how much you can take from them, so you don't try to make the same mistakes they did.
Yeah.
But our Christmases were great.
Yeah.
Well, your dad was he gone a lot when you were young? He was on the road.
He was working, but he was definitely there, when he should be. I say, make Christmases. Christmases were good. Birthdays was good.
So, do you remember the first did you ever go to one of his concerts when you were little?
Oh yeah, many. I remember.
What was it like going to that first one?
To be honest, I used to be scared of the crowd when I was really small. It's incredible that you can go and stand in front of all those people. I used to be like, wow, that's crazy. But now I'm on the stage.
Now you do it. It's
he has more energy than I do. What a guy. Yeah. Great performer.
Oh, that's great.
Excellent.
Well, this hour went so fast, but listen, we got to have you back on sometime next time you're in Las Vegas, and also next time you're doing a live show, let us know so we can come out and see you.
Amen.
Well, thanks so much. It's just been what a great show. Just
My pleasure.
really great meeting you guys and getting to know you a little bit. So
Yes, sir.
thanks so much. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week, same time, same station. Bye-bye, everybody.